So in this video we're going to be going over alignment and the key parts to it and a little bit about why you should and shouldn't do certain things. So an alignment's important because it helps ensure that your vehicle drives and handles properly, and it'll avoid some unnecessary wear that you don't want. So generally I do this at least twice a year. You should go and get all these things done. Not all of them are technically considered part of an alignment, but here are 5 things that I always do that I would recommend you do. So number one, the first one we're going to start with is called toe. So there's toe in and toe out. So if you look here, this is a bird's eye view of toe in, and this would be toe out. These are very exaggerated, but you get the point. So these would be the front tires here, and toe in, they kind of point inwards, and toe out, they point away from each other. So as I said, this is very exaggerated. For example, in the Jeep Wrangler TJ, the toe in is only 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch, so it's just very minor, you know. So some benefits and drawbacks of each. So toe in, it gives you greater straight line stability, but it'll reduce your steering response and sometimes cause understeer. And those two negatives are only when you have excessive amounts of toe in. For toe out, it generally gives you greater steering response, especially during turns. But if you have excessive toe out, you get instability, and your car will tend to follow the grooves of the road or bumps rather than continuing straight on the path that you're trying to go on. So generally you just go based on the manufacturer's recommendation for each, but yeah, don't get excessive with it. So next we have camber. So there's positive and negative camber. So this is the angle at which your tires lean in or out. So this can be kind of hard to visualize. Imagine this as if you're eye level with your tires looking straight at them. I'll include a picture that'll give you a much better example of what negative camber looks like. So negative camber is common in like souped up low down cars. So it helps with cornering. Positive camber is much more common and what you'll normally see on stock vehicles, and this gives you a smaller scrub radius, which leads to better steering. I could do a whole nother video on scrub radius, but yeah. And again, with this, you don't want to get too excessive with either positive or negative camber. Moving on to caster. So this is a little bit harder to explain. So this is the angle at which the axis of rotation is compared to your tire. So there's positive and negative. Positive is always what you want. So positive means that that axis of rotation is really in front of the center of your tire, right? So the easiest way to visualize this is to think of a shopping cart. So if you think of a shopping cart, like there's the wheel and then there's the bracket and then it connects up to the cart, right? So that's positive caster because that force is always applied in front of that shopping cart wheel. So what that helps do is after you make a turn, it helps the wheel straighten back out. So as you come out of that turn, your wheel straightens out. You'll notice if you drive a car, your car does the same thing. So negative caster is pretty much always bad. A good way to visualize that is imagine take a bicycle and spin the handlebars 180 degrees and try and ride the bike like that, and you can imagine how bad steering would be. It'd be quite a pain. Alright, so moving on, let me get my other board. We're going on to balancing your tires. So this isn't technically really alignment, but it's something you should do nonetheless. So basically, I'll include a picture. There are little weights on your wheel that help ensure that that weight around the entire tire and wheel is evenly distributed. So you can take this to a shop and they'll do it for you using a very expensive computer, usually costing $1 to $2 grand. Or Harbor Freight sells a do-it-yourself one for about $80, but it can kind of be a pain. And it's very precise and you need to be very accurate, so it can be difficult to do. But so one way to visualize having balanced or unbalanced wheels. So this is a cutout I made of a circle. Pretty circular, and so this is obviously unbalanced. I added all this weight right here, right? So you can see when it spins, kind of not so great. But if I take the weights out, you'll see it'll spin a lot better. I mean, it's not a perfect circle, it's not perfect, but you can tell it's spinning a lot better than when it was unbalanced. So the reason this is it's your angular momentum. In this equation we're calling L. So angular momentum equals mass times velocity. So on an unbalanced tire, if your mass is variable, because the angular momentum is the same at every point around the tire, the velocity has to change. So basically you're going to get different velocities at different points on the tire, which is just going to cause all kinds of wobble and instability. So lastly, pretty self-explanatory, rotating your tires. So if you have tires on different positions on the car, they wear slightly differently based on where they are. So you want to rotate them once in a while and just get them on different points so they wear evenly. So again, this is just my method of where I rotate them. So I have right rear, left front, etc., right front, left rear, and S's for spare. So that pretty much covers it. That's a general overview of the 5 things you want to get done. If you have any questions or want to see anything in more detail, just let me know. I'd be glad to help. Thanks.